All right, welcome to the shop. I'm working on a project, and this is me starting to record for it, but I had an idea that I wanted to do, and I figure it's high time to do it. So I've got some parts that either I've acquired or I purchased this morning. Got a battery over there on the floor, that marine battery. But what I'm building is a UPS that's controllable. So if you come over here, we've got, let me put the camera in the right spot. That's right enough. We've got a UPS. This one I got for free last year from a company that we were cleaning out an office, and they had this one. This one is a, let's see, it's a 200 watt, I believe. Yep. So this model is a 200 watt, and I have this one, and I have one more. So if you come over here, and I've shown this video before, or this UPS in a video, but this one is another 200 watt. And so I've got this server. It's just chugging away, doing its thing. Bad lighting, sorry. It is hosting my own cloud server and my video files and my music, so that it's all available. Basically a network attached hard drive that does some other cool stuff. And so what I was wanting to do, because last week while we were out of town, the power here at the house went off. Now I wasn't here, and normally people would be like, yeah, whatever, let the power go off, I'm not home, it doesn't matter. But I woke up that morning and I found that my file server was not reachable. And I was like, ugh. Either it went down or the power went off and it went down. But it turned out to be, and I texted a neighbor and I was like, hey, did the power go off last night? And he's like, yeah. Anyway, I decided that it was time to build a power supply that would keep the server and other devices plugged into it on for a time, but then also that I could remotely shut off and not have to let the battery go down hard. And so, well, I guess no. If the power at the house here goes down, the internet's off, and I can't shut the server of the stuff off. This battery, that big one, is replacing a 7 amp hour 12 volt battery, and so it will give it many more hours of operation, but it won't keep it from, it won't give me the ability to turn it off and on without that stuff being on. Anyway, that would be a different setup. I'd have to do something else. But anyway, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take that one. I'm going to shuck them, if you will. Take the guts out of here, replace the power cords, keep the buttons, or at least the ability to turn that on and off without having to plug it into something else. And then I'm going to rebuild them into something larger. So I've got some pieces of wood that I cut this morning, and it was just really quick pieces because a lot of that stuff doesn't matter. And so what I'm going to do is build myself something that utilizes these, which are some more free stuff. This was part of my Raspberry Pi controlled outlets last year, but now I'm going to put them in, and this Raspberry Pi is going to control everything. I run out of... Oh, we're still going. All right, great. This Raspberry Pi, my very first Raspberry Pi, the one that was the first batch, it is going to be the thing you'll talk to and control the other devices on there. And so I won't have to have my neighbor come over and push the button for me. I can push the button myself from the internet, assuming we have power again. It doesn't matter if you don't have power anyway. So I've got some parts. I've got this hat. This box of pieces is for the bunk bed that is right here. That's a different project that needs to be done soon. But I've got this pile of plywood. This one's not part of it necessarily, but neither is that one, and neither is this one. But I've got a front, a side, another side, a top and a bottom, and then this piece of stop sign is going to be the back that I cut all the holes in, and I've taken apart the faceplate, and I'm going to mark this where I want the outlets to be. I'll have 6 of them. I'll just use this thing and I'll put it on there, and I'll draw 6 holes, 6 outlets. Maybe I'll draw 8 because I do have 8 plugs. But the relay board that I have only controls 8 different things. So I'm planning on having 6 independently switchable outlets, and then two of the relays will be set to be these buttons here, that one, and then the one over here that is currently on. Oh god, tripod's too big. That one over there, that little green light right there. There's a button right next to it, and I need to be able to control those 2 things. So that's the aim. That is the goal, to be able to control both UPSs and also add lots of runtime, and that's going to be cool. So I'll end this here, and I'll start a time lapse of me assembling this box that I've made. I still need to cut all the holes in the aluminum, and that'll take a while, but I can at least run the compressor right now and put the box itself, the body, together. And so we'll cut this all together at the end and put it all in a cool way. We'll stop this here. All right. So I've got all this box built. It should be a little bit less than 17 inches wide. I ran out of material because I was using reused stuff from different projects. But we have a tape measure here. Should be 16 3/4 wide and as tall as I could make it. Yeah, 16 3/4 wide, and it is 13 tall with an inside diameter of about 12 inches. So this battery box that'll go in there and hold the marine battery is no taller. It's 10 3/4 inches, so that's perfect. I'll get the box situated. We'll get the battery in there. We'll strap it down. The leads will come out of these 2 ports right here. This top comes off. So the battery leads will come out, and they will run to both UPSs. I'll take the UPSs out of their cases, and I'll rework the stuff so that they run these outlets over here, these orange outlets that I got last year. The big time consumer is going to be cutting the ports for all the outlets in the UPS panel here. Now this thing at the moment will be up to 400 watts that it can supply between the two UPSs. But as that part is one of the more expensive parts of a UPS system, is the inverter, thing that turns DC power to AC power, I'm okay with 400 watts. This was all free wood. The UPSs were free and $5. There is a battery in that one right now, but it's a 7 amp hour battery where, forgive me, I'm cold. This, I don't know how many amp hours it is, but it is essentially a car battery. And I know I'm not the first person to do this, but I was just, documenting and sharing my fun with this project. I'm going to make it so that a Raspberry Pi controls the power output. That's the part that's cool. I've got this old Raspberry Pi. I'm going to use my old one because this one doesn't have any mounting holes in the board. It's slow, it's old, but what it does well is SSH connection. It will boot up, or it should. If it starts to become unreliable, then I'll switch things out. But it should boot up every time. It's available. You can go and turn the power off, turn the power on, blah, blah, blah. But it'll find its home inside this thing, and it'll live in there for the rest of its days, or as long as I keep this going. I like having a battery backup. Hopefully this will even out all those dead spots in our power here, and our servers. Our server, the web server, won't go down except for when we lose power at the switch.
Are you talking to yourself?
No, I'm recording this on video. And now you're recorded in the video boy.
Oh, hello.
So at this point in the progress, or the process, I just am trying to figure out where everything goes. The battery is going to go at the very front, and I'm going to paint this with some black and yellow stripes. I'm going to paint the whole thing black, but I'm going to paint the bottom with the yellow stripes. I feel like that's fitting for being a power box. I've got my relay board, 8-channel relay board. I know they make more than 8 channels, but this is what I've got here, and I'm going to use that. I've had this one for a couple years. I bought it, and then I sat on it a couple years, never used it, and then I was like, hey, let's try that thing. Sure enough, it works just fine. I've used it in a few little test projects, but now I'm going to put it in a project. I'm going to need to replace it with something. Probably the next one will be a solid-state relay board, but this one will work for this. These ones, they support up to 10 amps of current flowing through, and that's 10 amps at 250 volts, or that's AC, or 125 volts AC, or 10 amps at 30 volts DC, or 28 volts DC. I'm not sure why the voltage stays the same. Usually it's a certain number of watts that something can handle, but maybe that's how they do that with stuff. Certain wires, certain conductors can handle up to a certain current. It must be different than what I'm familiar with other things. Anyway, it's time to take apart the first UPS, and I'm going to need to take apart UPS number 2, or the primary one currently, and let's take the components out and see what we've got going on. I'll just put the server back on no battery power, so if the power goes out in the next couple days while I'm working on this, it'll be down, which is unfortunate, but when you build something cool, you got to deal with stuff. So I'll put this back into time-lapse mode, and we'll take something apart. So this is what's inside this UPS. So this is a 200 watt output max. And we've got battery and surge protection on it. I just dropped one of the ground leads. Because like a lot of other electronics, it fits within its case, and so when you take it out of its case, it doesn't fit quite as well. I just dropped the power button, but I'm not going to reuse that power button because it's not going to be in a good spot. So you've got this large transformer that brings the voltage down to something that can turn to 12 volts because it comes in at 120 volts. Let's see, the power cord was over here. I've removed the power cord and I put the power cord here. So you got 120 volts coming in, 120 volts AC, alternating current. The white plugs into one of these guys over here. I don't know, I took it off. But everything fits in its place. And then it gets stepped down. And there's another transformer on here, but it gets put into 12 volts DC coming out to charge its internal battery. Now I'm wondering, when I put the two together, are they going to try to charge each other? And that's not good. But I'm wondering if it's low enough that it really won't matter. Because the battery, well, they should get up to a point and then stop. They should stop charging eventually. But I might want to put a diode into the positive DC lead so that it doesn't start pushing voltage back in from the battery or from the one power supply in. Or there could be some kind of a isolation transformer that I could use. Actually, that's DC. I don't know. I'm not discouraged. I just need to take apart the other one. Mounting this might be a weird thing. I gotta lengthen the leads on some of these wires, and I can ditch half of them, I think, because I want to keep. Actually, no, I have to keep all of them. There's surge and there's not surge, so I need to keep the ones that are not surge, the battery backup ones. And the case was over here. Anyway, I will update when I have something to update. I need to take apart the other one, though. I need to get that one over here and break it down so I can get this going. This one, conveniently, this board has 4 mounting holes in each of the corner, so that's good. I can mount this to the side. It's nice and thin. I'll lengthen these wires so that the transformer can sit down on the base and not be in the way of anything else. And that will leave room for the other UPS to lay on the bottom next to this transformer. Hopefully I'll have enough room. Hey, so here's an update. I sanded and I painted it, so it's all black. That was my idea the whole time. It's just a simple spray paint. There's the lid over here. I just took it off so I could paint it itself separate so we get all the cracks and we wouldn't have any wood showing through. And then I thought it'd be cool if I gave it a, come on, focus. I thought I'd give it a nice bright yellow kind of danger looking thing on the front. So I did it just quick with some masking tape. Just, threw some strips on there. I'm all out of that stuff now. But I threw it on there and kind of started in the middle, and it's not perfect, but it actually from like, just a glance at it looks really cool. Just bright, striking. And so it'll be pretty easy for me to be like, okay, go and do this to the big yellow and black stripy box, if I have to do that. But I'm doing this thing so I don't have to do that. Anyway, it's it's kind of a get your attention, don't touch this, danger, whatever. And it does that. It's really cool. So I'm gonna let the paint dry tonight, let it settle. I don't want any runs. I don't want the paint to run on it. I just sprayed it outside, just got it in there. So it looks really good. I think it looks really good. It's just wood, but when it's all done, it'll be cool. Now I've got the back plate here. I got to cut these 8 holes out to match up with these 8 guys here. Each one of them will 2, 2, and 2 will be separate. They won't be connected like normal. And then one of them, they'll be wired together because I don't have 2 more relays. I'm using the last 2 relays to actually control this switch and its brother over here in the other UPS. But we'll we'll get that going in a little bit. But I got the battery in the box. I spent some time getting the ring terminals to be the right size. I have these little yellow guys. All right, get a little update. I've got all my switches and other ports mounted, so I think it looks really good. I did that with old sockets from a computer ATX power supply. I just, every time one dies, I salvage all the good parts out of them because I know that they come in handy for projects like this. I've got a Ethernet jack that is just a keystone on the back, but I can connect this to my Raspberry Pi because that Raspberry Pi that I've got is not something I'm going to be able to panel mount. So there's my panel mount jack. I'll just run a male end from this female over to the Raspberry Pi and connect like that. These two switches here sit in place of the buttons on the UPS units. So if for some reason, or maybe, if the power goes out here and I need to deal with it, but I don't want to have to log in because I don't want to have to get on my phone or my computer to push a button. That's annoying. So I added these guys. You just flip them off. I don't want them super easily switchable, so I'll just leave them like this. And then I've got 8 outlets, and they're all cut in, and they from a distance they look really good. I know there's imperfections and they're not perfect, but it all looks really good. And so now it's time to wire it up. I probably have this thing done today. I'll just work into the evening, and I'll have myself a sweet 400 watt-ish combined power unit, UPS, that runs off of that marine battery that I bought. So this was a big thing. It took me a couple hours, but it's all done now. Now it's time to wire it up. So that's the next challenge. All right, here's the current position of everything. The transformers are secure. Each one of the UPS units, which are similar in size, even though they're a different make. Hey, Tate. Tate's down here watching TV with me while we're doing this. Raspberry Pi, my very first one, is in place right there. It's held down by a zip tie. I can still get to the SD card, though changing it out will be a pain in the butt, but that's not the point of this project. The point is so that we don't change it very often. It'll boot up, and then it will be available on the network to switch things on and off. We got battery leads out. I do need to push these guys through. Okay, so this one, this blue is the white of the front outlets. I've got stuff hooked up here. These ones need, so all these powers need to be hooked up, and then ground all the way around. Needs to be connected to everything. I've got quite the callus, or it's a blister. I've got a blister on my hand. Anyway, relay board is attached. Raspberry Pi is attached. Everything's attached. Transformers, control boards. The server is currently running off of just wall power. If the power goes out, it goes down, but that should be the last time that I do this, assuming that everything goes well. So after I get it all wired up, make the last few connections, then we'll see if we're still good. I'm hoping that we're still good. This has been a lot of work. And it looks like a mess because it's a homemade thing. It'd be really cool if it was all on one unit, or if I had a UPS that was of a higher output. Something like 1,000 watts would be super cool, but I do not. And this is a project that is one of those, again, it's a do it for free because we're having fun. Hopefully it lives up to my expectations. I expect that it will, but there's always the chance that I'm disappointed. So I'm going to stop this recording. I'm going to get it all wrapped up and see if we can't button this bad boy up. So, all right. We see Connor with his little sunburned shoulders. He's riding his bike. All right, anyway. So last night was a pretty late night. I think I got to bed around 12:30. I fell asleep probably. But I've got most of the stuff here. We've got the relay board. We've got the UPS unit number 1, UPS unit number 2, the battery. It's all wired up. It's all working. And the panel looks really, really good. Let's see if we can see that. Outlets, got Ethernet, all the stuff that was before. What I forgot to do last night was the Raspberry Pi side. Now it works, the whole thing works. The Raspberry Pi was just supposed to be able to control it. So I was fighting with it a little bit last night. I was like, what the heck, why isn't it working? I don't know what I did, but my fresh version of Raspbian Stretch wasn't showing up. So what I'm doing now is I'm writing the stretch image again to that SD card. We'll boot it up. We'll change the password. Change them. Well, I guess we'll leave the password as it is now. But we'll what I need to do is get it so that it's obtaining an IP address, because this Raspberry Pi, for some reason, has a network connection but is not obtaining an IP address, and I don't know why. So we're going to fix that, and we're going to get it. I'll the scripts that control the relays, I'm not worried about. I know how to do that. We're good with that. And I know how to make these things work. I've had them for years, and I do computers not as a job, but definitely as a hobby, and I'm fairly good at it. I'm no programming genius, but I can hold my own with Raspberry Pis. But anyway, we're going to figure this out, and we're going to get it right. So I've got the server on its side. It's running. It's really cool. I like the idea of UPSs. So the UPS gets its power. I'm calling it megaUPS, I guess. I've got the whole front. It's all danger, that kind of thing. I made it long because I was thinking that it'd be nice to have two batteries. We'll see what the runtime is on one. I might not need one, but I was kind of also making it so that it was kind of semi-rack mountable. Oh, focus. I wanted it to be rack mountable. What I'm going to do is build a small network rack and then put it on some wheels, and then I'm going to clean out this little closet here and tuck it back here so that this table can be clean. There won't be a server on it. I'll take the screen down, I'll take the keyboard, I'll put it all into this little rack, and then I'll tuck it back here, and you won't have to see it anymore. I'll just run some power cables up so it grabs power off this circuit here and goes into a different thing, and so it'll have power back there on its own. But anyway, what I'm trying to do now is we're getting this image written. It's Sunday after church, and the kids are driving around on their bikes and stuff, just enjoying all the free time they've got. And I'm tinkering down here. My wife said that I was banned from tinkering today, but she's upstairs asleep, so I'm not going to be banned. And she's just going to have to deal with that because she's not even awake. Anyway, what do I need to do? All right, so I re-imaged the SD card, so now that it's running the light version of Raspbian, and I've already enabled the SSH server. It's not on by default, so you have to go in and type sudo raspi-config, and then go in and turn on it's one of the options there. It's under boot options or something. Make sure the SSH server starts by default, which most, actually I can't think of any Debian-based Linux systems that I use that doesn't start the SSH server on by default. So the next thing I wanted to do, or there's a few things I wanted to do, was to change the listening port for SSH. I don't want it to listen on port 22. I'm already using port 22 on my main machine, and I don't want to have to share that with another server, another available machine. So from the outside, I leave a lot of things at port 22 for the inside of the network, but outside, being able to call in from another machine outside of my house, I want to be able to talk to it on a different port. So I change it to a different port. I won't share that port here, nor will I share my IP address. But I've changed that here, and let's see. So let's say clear. All right. So I've got my text window here, my command line window, and there we go. Here, let's put the tripod down. So I also wanted to remove the Pi username because I don't want that. If it was outward facing and somebody was to be able to guess the port and they figured out my IP address, I don't want them to knock on Pi at Raspberry and then, or Pi at the IP and then the password is Raspberry. I don't want that. So what I need to do is probably just delete the Pi user. I'm making this update a little more than probably, what is it? If it's 2020, it's not 2 years since I've filmed the last stuff, but it's something that I never got around to editing because that's not my skill, even though I'm starting to do that now. Anyway, got a lot of things are different about my network now, but this project has been running for years now, and here it is. So I've got the UPS in here with one deep cycle-ish marine battery. It's in my network rack that I made that'll be a different video, and it's got everything housed in there. It's dark now. Let's see, go to the other side. So everything's in there now. I've got lots of things plugged into it, things that don't go off, and everything stays on. Since then, I've built a pfSense switch router, and I've got managed Dell switches. I've got a small one over here and two bigger ones over here, 248 ports, and the pfSense box at the top. And then this is a new addition. I just got this printer. It works and it's pretty cool. It's a scanner and it does all the cool things a printer should do. I didn't have this rack when I was shooting the original footage, but now I've got the rack. So my server's still there. Everything's kind of rack mounted, you know, finger quotes, rack mounted. But it's kind of an update. So that's it for this project. It took me, I don't know, almost 2 years to get up the courage and build the skills enough to finally feel like I could edit it together. But that's it. We're moving in about a year, so I'm not going to clean up any of the wiring and anything. So when I have my own house, then the wiring will be clean and done correctly. But right now it's just a mess. It all functions fine, but it's not clean, and I'm not going to put work into somebody else's home. So later.